Infinite torture, infinite pain, whatever. What sort of an all-loving being would do that anyway? Okay, there's a huge issue with that. All right, but I was so relieved this was all over, and I looked up in the sky and I saw the stars, and even that was confirmation for science. I, and I grew up in Philly, but I got out to a place that was away from all the light pollution. Okay, and this was down in the Caribbean. Actually, it was in Belize. All right, and I looked up into the sky, and for the first time, I saw with my own eyes the Milky Way. That was a very profound moment for me because it confirmed all the science that I had been learning, because it was kind of hard to see the Milky Way when you're in a major metro area like New York or Philadelphia or Boston or what have you. Too much light pollution, too much haze, too much smog, whatever. But there, on a starry night, clear sky, I was able to see the expanse of the Milky Way. All right. Now, many Christians have this belief that the world was created 6,000 years ago. Now, I'm not sure if it's just planet Earth or the entire universe. And I'm sure there's variations in those myths. But for those that claim that the entire universe was created 6,000 years ago, when you look up in the night sky, you can see with your naked eye objects that are further than, 6,000 light years away. Okay? Or you might need a little telescope to see them. Okay? You can go out and buy a 40 power telescope or binoculars for that matter. And you can look up on a clear night sky and you can see many, many, many objects that are clearly further away from the Earth than 6,000 light years. All right? So, how those guys explain this anomaly is anybody's guess. All right? My guess is that they never bothered looking up. Okay? It's just like, Galileo. He's, look through the damn telescope. You can see that the sun, that the Earth is not the center of the universe. Neither is the sun for really, but you just look through the darn telescope and you can see the truth. Observation. That is the most scariest thing for Christians. Observation. So this guy wants to talk about the atheist's most feared question. How about the Christian's most feared question? Okay? Where's the proof? What sort of observations can we make that proves the God that you claim exists? Okay? I like to see them. I really would. Now, let me delve into this deeper because there's always layers to things, okay? Now, you Christians out there have to deal with multiple issues, and I'm going to illustrate them. The first one, number one, is that, and I call this a trans-universal being because God is such a nebulous thing, and, how do you define it? The first step in proving something's existence is that you have to have a working definition of said existence, okay? You have to have a working definition. Therefore, I'm going to cut to the whole muck and talk about trans-universal beings, all right? Because the way the Christians seem to phrase their God and their God's nature and whatnot says to me they're really talking about a trans-universal being, all right? An actual physical being that exists somewhere in the realm of space-time, or maybe outside of space-time, or what have you, okay? Somewhere out there, there's this trans-universal being, all right? So now we got that down. What Christians must do, or anybody who claims that trans-universal beings exist, is they must show proof that said transuniversal being actually does exist. What sort of evidence? Observational evidence. Outside of the head evidence. Not some stupid mystical experience that people sometimes have when their brains are doing funny things. And there's been research to show that a certain part of your brain, once it shuts down, gives you these mystical experiences that people of different faiths interpret different ways. Okay, that's science. Okay, beyond that, we need something we can observe. I should be able to observe it with this camera here. Okay, or with some type of measuring device that does not rely on human perception. All right. So, where's this evidence? That's question number one. Question number two for Christians is that once you've established that, solid proof, not, oh, well, you won't accept my evidence even though it's there. No, none of that. Solid observational evidence. Okay? So once you get past that, your next question is to prove that this transuniversal being is actually, in fact, the being that is claimed to be God in your religion.